Well, fellas, it's our first build for this season. Now, I know we don't necessarily have a new 3.0 subclass, but we've definitely had some changes, some buffs to different exotics, and with this build, we're actually going to be taking advantage of that. Today, we've got an Arc Warlock build that utilizes and dials down on two things that were updated and buffed this past season, and you're seeing the results of this build on screen right now. So let's dive in. So first, you're going to want to hop on your Stormcaller, as we're back to Arc, and for this build, you can honestly use whatever super you want. In the early stages of this build, we're going to be using Chaos Reach, though, for the almost 2 minute shorter recharge than that of Storm Trance. By the way, Chaos Reach actually got a tier upgrade in its super, meaning you should be getting it faster. But in our testing, if you got enemies to kill and are picking up orbs, you'll be getting your super in 1 minute with either equipped. We even got a Storm Trance super back in 51 seconds once. So it's a fast recharge either way with this build. The only ability that matters is really your Healing Rift. You want that because Empowering Rift won't do much to other buffs that we have going on that don't stack with it. You can also use whatever grenade or melee you want here. For aspects, we're going to be using Electrostatic Mine and Arc Soul. Arc Soul is one of the two focuses of this build, as they also got a buff this season, an increase in base damage from 35 to 60. They're essentially doing almost double damage in comparison to what they were doing last season. The Arc Soul aspect also makes your Arc Souls supercharged and gives them increased fire rates while you're amplified, which will be 100% of the time with this build, as long as you have enemies to shoot. We also have Electrostatic Mine that would generate Ionic Traces on every Arc ability kill, or when you actually defeat a jolted or blinded target, and when you collect an Ionic Trace, you become amplified. These Ionic Traces will grant you energy to all of your abilities. Now, the fragments you're going to want are Spark of Beacons, which will make your Arc special weapon Final Blows create a blinding explosion while you're amplified. Spark of Discharge lets your Arc weapon Final Blows create Ionic Traces, although keep in mind it does come with a cooldown. Spark of Amplitude creates an orb of power when you rapidly defeat targets while amplified. It too also has a short cooldown. And Spark of Focus, which will increase your class ability regeneration after sprinting for a short time. Now, this last fragment here is one you can kind of swap out for something else if you want, as we already have more than one way we're getting our class ability energy back. You don't really need Spark of Focus for this build to work. Now for our exotic weapon, Coldheart. Now, this may surprise you, but Coldheart is actually doing really good. It actually got a change a couple seasons ago where it could generate Ionic Traces, and this season they buffed that ability and more. They actually changed the Ionic Trace generation cooldown from 3.5 seconds to now 2 seconds, and now it gets max stability and reload when at maximum damage, and collecting an Ionic Trace shortens the time it takes to get to maximum damage. Now, for those that don't know what Coldheart is, its original perk is called Cold Fusion, where the weapon shoots a steady cold fusion power arc laser, dealing more damage the longer it remains on a target. And Longest Winter states that this weapon will periodically generate Ionic Traces while in its high damage state. Now, with the buff this season, when you actually pick up an Ionic Trace generated from anything, you'll be able to reach that max damage output of Coldheart much faster, which will in turn generate even more Ionic Traces. So after hearing all about Ionic Traces, you're probably thinking, well, the obvious thing is to just pair with Fallen Sunstar, or since the focus is on Arc Souls, they'll probably pair well with Getaway Artists. Actually, no, that's too easy. That's what everyone is using? If you want ability spam all day long, Fallen Sunstar makes sense. If you want instant supercharge Arc Souls, even though it's already really easy to get them anyway, then yeah, Getaway Artists also makes sense. Or you can go with dear old reliable Crown of Tempest for that ability spam too. All of that has been done time and time again, especially last season when Arc 3.0 was introduced. And this season, we didn't really see many subclass changes to really shift the PvE meta that much, if at all. So when it comes to our builds this season, we got to get a bit more creative and out of the box than usual. Not saying this build is super wacky or anything, but our future builds might be. We've got some weird things in mind already, but no Fallen Sunstar, no Getaway Artists. Actually, today, guys, we're going to be using Mantle of Battle Harmony. This comes with the perk Absorption Cells, where takedowns with the weapons that have damage types matching your subclass element grant you super energy. And while your super energy is full, you instead gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage of the type matching your subclass element. Remember when we said we're really focusing on Coldheart here? The idea is to buff out its damage as much as possible. When you have full super with Mantle of Battle Harmony, that same element damage bonus is actually 20%. Like we said earlier, you're able to get your super in just 1 minute with this build. So you don't have to worry about not having that buff, because if you're using your super, all you got to do is wait a max of 1 minute to get it back if you're constantly getting kills with Coldheart. Now, obviously, there's more going into this and that super regeneration than just Battle Harmony and Coldheart kills, and that's where our armor mods come in. When it comes to armor affinity for this build, you're going to need 2 Arc pieces of armor, and they can honestly be any slot. Your boots will need to be void. That's really our only restriction here. You'll see the specific setup on the right side of your screen. Our helmets and gloves are both Arc. As for mods in our helmets, we've got 2 Harmonic Siphons. These will allow Coldheart to generate an orb of power on rapid kills, and having 2 of the mods gives you more super energy from each orb. We also have Overcharge Wellmaker, which will spawn 2 Arc Elemental Wells when you defeat a combatant with a finisher. In our gloves, we also have Trace Rifle Loader mods, which you don't necessarily need, but it does help a bit when Coldheart doesn't have its max reload going. We also have Seeking Wells, because we're also taking advantage of elemental armaments, which we have slotted in our chests. This mod gives Coldheart an escalating chance to create an arc well when defeating combatants. Now, this well will spawn at the enemy's location, so seeking wells will make it much easier at collecting them as they literally just track to you. You'll also be generating a ton of orbs, which you do have to run and pick up though, but this just makes one less thing you have to worry about physically grabbing. Now, in addition to elemental armaments, on our chest we also have traced rifle reserves, so we can carry more Coldheart ammo and a seasonal mod energy diffusion substrate, which gives you a small amount of resistance to all damage. On our boots we have Font of Might, which will grant us that plus 25% bump there in damage when we pick up an elemental well, and this actually stacks with Battle Harmony's damage buff too. Trust me guys, we're gonna get to the damage numbers in just a moment. We also have Installation and Better Already to pair with this, and of course the health bump there is very nice, as well as the class ability regeneration with every orb pickup. And finally, in our class item, we have Special Finisher, which will make finishers generate special ammo for you and your fire team, but it does require 1/3 of your super. Now, this is how you'll never run out of Coldheart ammo. If it takes 1 minute to get your super, it literally only takes 20 seconds to get that third. So spending a third to get ammo for Coldheart means you'll only have a few seconds to wait before you're back at full Coldheart damage with Battle Harmony's buff. We also have the seasonal mod, Monochromatic Maestro. This mod actually states that dealing damage with elemental abilities grants increased damage to weapons of the same element for a short duration, and dealing damage with weapons grants an increased damage to abilities of the same element for a short duration. Now, this damage bonus is actually 10%, and it stacks with all our other damage bonuses Coldheart will be getting here. Originally, we thought that you would get this damage boost when your Arc Soul does damage, since it says ability damage will grant your same element weapons bonus damage. And we thought that Arc Weapon damage would grant your Arc Souls bonus damage since they're an ability. But somewhere in the code or something, that's not the case, as they aren't technically classified as an ability, because neither of that was benefiting. For some reason, this 10% bonus in damage isn't granted to Arc Souls, and Arc Soul damage does not count as an ability damage, therefore not granting us that bonus to our weapons, which is honestly dumb. Bungie, please fix this. This build works just fine though, with or without this mod, but if you want that 10% extra damage to Coldheart, you will have to deal damage with your ability or your grenades. Definitely a bummer. We're mainly throwing this in there because maybe this is a bug and Bungie will in fact fix this. We'll see. Now let's talk numbers real quick. You have the potential to hit max Coldheart damage when you have full super and you pick up an arc well. Remember, Coldheart's damage actually ramps up over time when you're firing at a single target. So we got the range of numbers. You can see when Coldheart is just starting to fire and when it's at max output. So at base, we start at 2,157 to 2,975 per crit. And again, this scales the longer it's held, the second number being the max it can hit. Now with Battle Harmony, this actually gives us that 20% increase in damage, giving us a scale of 2,588 to 3,570. Font of Might is an extra 25%, which gives us a scale of 3,127 to 4,314. And if you proc Monochromatic Maestro, this 10% increase gives us a scale of 3,343 to 4,611. It's essentially have a full super, get an arc well, deal ability damage, and you have plus 55% damage for Coldheart, just like that. And hey, if any of your teammates are also rocking the Advanced Scout Seasonal mod, you'll get another 10% damage against champions stunned by that teammate. So here's the very simple gameplay loop to how this all works. You cast your Rift as often as possible because you're always getting those supercharged Arc Souls that just got a buff this past season, which deals very good damage. You deal some ability damage with a grenade or a melee for that Monochromatic Maestro's 10% buff. Then you just want to slay out with Coldheart. Eventually, it'll generate an arc well off of its kills, which will track to you and give you Font of Might's damage bonus. Every Coldheart kill will give you more super energy because of Battle Harmony, and every rapid kill will generate an orb, which will give you more super energy, health regeneration, and class ability energy, thanks to that double harmonic siphon mods, installation, as well as Better Already. Now, every couple of seconds, you'll generate 2 orbs at the same time instead of 1 because of Spark of Amplitude. You'll be generating frequent Ionic Traces because of Coldheart's perk, Sparks of Discharge, as well as your Arc Souls thanks to Electrostatic Mine, and thanks to Spark of Beacons while you're amplified, which will be all the time, which will grant every Coldheart kill the ability to blind combatants. Now, when you're low on Coldheart ammo, simply do a finisher to grant yourself some ammo, as well as 2 arc wells thanks to Special Finisher and Overcharged Wellmaker, and of course this will top off Font of Might. So while you'll lose Battle Harmony's 20% damage buff, you'll gain Font of Might's 25% damage buff here. So Coldheart will essentially always be buffed. But again, if you're picking up those orbs, you're generating literally almost on every Coldheart kill. Guys, it only takes a few seconds to be right back at full super to either take advantage of Coldheart's full power or to generate even more ammo. And again, don't be afraid to use your super, whether it's Tickle Fingers or even Chaos Reach. Super Recharge is a thing of the past with this build. Easy 1-minute supers combined with decent damage and almost infinite ammo with a special weapon that creates blinding explosions on every single kill, while it buffs your abilities, grants you ability energy, and unlimited orbs. Guys, this is a really fun build. This build lets you take advantage of both the Coldheart buff as well as the Arc Souls buff, and I recommend you give both of these a go this season, guys. Now, if Dim is actually back up, we will have a Dim link in the description below, but Dim has been down. We'll see though. But we'll be cranking out some more build videos as the season goes on, especially in anticipation of Grandmasters. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.